Hey there, everybody. This is Aryeh Leifert, and you're watching the first episode of the Aryeh Leifert Show. I've been thinking of doing a podcast for quite a few years now, and I just never got around to it. Just procrastinate, had a whole list of topics that I wanted to discuss with all of you. And then yesterday happened. It was yesterday, October 7th. 2023. The time now is 10 minutes to 3, 2:50 a.m. on Sunday morning, October 8th, 2023. And yesterday started one of the biggest wars in Israel's history. I live in Israel, and one of the biggest wars in Israel's history, it appears it's going to be one of the biggest wars, started with a surprise attack over the border from the Gaza Strip into Israel by terrorists from Hamas. And so far, Israel has paid a very, very heavy price. The Jerusalem Post is reporting at least 300 Israelis have been killed. We don't know how many have been taken hostage by Hamas: men, women, children, the elderly, soldiers, and it's just a terrible situation. For the details of what's going on, you can go to jpost.com, foxnews.com, cnn.com, timesofisrael.com, and go to all those places. I want to give a different perspective. I want to give a perspective of on the ground, what was going on yesterday, Saturday, Shabbat, the holiday of Simchat Torah, what was going on in Israel. So I was woken up at 7 o'clock in the morning by air raid sirens. I was a bit groggy, obviously, and first I went back to sleep, and then the sirens kept going. So after the sirens, I heard booms, the booms of Iron Dome, our incredible intercept system, our missile intercept system that intercepts Hamas rockets, developed with the United States. Thank you very much, America. Really appreciate it. And then I heard the booms and more sirens, more sirens. I turned on my phone to see what was going on, and I saw what was happening, that there were rockets. This was not a joke. This was not a drill. Rockets were being fired into Israel. And so, as I said, it was the holiday of Simchat Torah, the end of the holiday of Sukkot, where we celebrate the completion of the Torah reading, the end of the 5 books of Moses. We finish the last verses. We start back at the beginning in Genesis. And I saw that Israel's Red Cross, Magen David Adom, was asking for blood donations. So this was around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I got in touch with my son, who is staying at his mother's house for the holiday, and I said, "You're the only one of the kids who can donate blood. You're over 18. Do you want to come donate blood? I'm going to go into Jerusalem. I'm going to drive into Jerusalem. Do you want to donate blood?" And since he is type O, that's what Magen David Adom, the Israeli Red Cross, also known as MADA, that's what MADA needed. So we drove into Jerusalem. On the way, we picked up an Israeli soldier who was hitchhiking. He needed to get back home so that he could get his gear and then jump into his car and go up to his base. So we took him home, and then we continued into Jerusalem. Crazy, absolutely crazy. First of all, driving on Shabbat, never done that before. I really hope that I'll never have to do it again. I am an observant Jew, so I don't use any kind of technology, electricity on Shabbat from Friday night to Saturday night. So it was really weird to get into the car, turn it on. First time ever I've turned on a car on Shabbat. First time ever I've driven on Shabbat. So roads were empty. Very, very few cars. I have to remember, if you really want to get into Jerusalem quickly, drive in on Shabbat. Of course, that would be against my tradition. But anyhow, so we get into Jerusalem, we get to the Mada station right at the entrance to Jerusalem, and they're telling people, if you're not type O, you're going to be waiting a very long time. Might as well go home. We only want type O. So we went in, we waited. My son was able to donate blood while he was in the queue waiting to be taken. I went outside and put together an ad hoc prayer service. I still hadn't said all the prayers yet for Simchat Torah, so I got a group of, 10, 15 men together. We did an ad hoc prayer service. It's very powerful, especially one of the last lines of the prayers is where we ask God for peace. And I chose a tune to use for that so that everyone could get into it. We're praying for peace. And went back in. My son was finished. And then we were figuring out what should we do next. We didn't want to have to drive home if we didn't have to. It was just a few hours until the Sabbath was over. And what else could we do? So we decided if we can find an Israeli soldier who is hitchhiking, who needs to get from A to B, we'll take him from A to B. If not, we'll just stay in Jerusalem a couple of hours until the end of the Sabbath, and then we can go home after the Sabbath was over. But we found a soldier who needed to get to the city of Bet Shemesh, so we drove him to Bet Shemesh, and we have cousins in Bet Shemesh, so we drove a little bit further, parked, and then we walked to our cousins and spent the rest of Shabbat there. They were slightly confused to see us because they knew that we were in our town, not in Beit Shemesh for Shabbat, but we explained the situation and we spent the rest of the Sabbath with them. It was very powerful to be in the Mada station on Shabbat. Lots of different Jews from all walks of life, from the very religious to the very secular. I also thought it was very powerful. A number of the Mada workers, they have their name tag here, and a number of them had Arab names, and no one thought anything of it. There was no, I don't want to be treated by him. He's an Arab. I don't want to be treated by her. She's an Arab. No, because when things get tough, actually, even when things aren't tough, in general, we get along. Jewish Israelis, Arab Israelis, we generally get along. But that stuff doesn't make the news. You're not going to have an article about Mada station in Jerusalem, Jews and Arabs getting along perfectly fine. But we were, and we do, on a regular basis. I'll share more in future episodes. I hope this is the start of many episodes of the Aryeh Leifert Show. But this is number one. Again, I wasn't planning that this was going to be the topic, but as the old Yiddish saying goes, when man plans, God laughs. Wenn der Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. Not sure if I got that pronunciation exactly right, but it was pretty close. When man plans, God laughs. Praying for peace in the Holy Land, praying for peace for all Israelis, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Druze, whatever. Hamas rockets do not distinguish between various Israelis. Hamas bullets do not distinguish between various Israelis. We will win. We will win. It may take some time, but we will win, God willing. Please pray for us in the Holy Land, and God bless you and your families.